Tonight, Meg Whitman, they were just talking about her. Well, she's here. You've heard about her campaign for governor of California and her housekeeper, Nikki Diaz, who admits to being an illegal immigrant and says Whitman knew she was illegal. And now, you'll hear directly from Meg Whitman, uncut. We have invited her opponent, Democrat Jerry Brown, on our show, and he has so far refused our offer. He's welcome at any time. Here's Meg. Ms. Whitman, nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I know everyone calls you Meg, but I'm rather respectful towards all candidates, so I'll call you Ms. Whitman.
You can call me Meg, Greta. It's nice to see you. Thanks for doing the interview.
All right, happy to do it. All right. California is enormously important, obviously, to the people who live there, but to the rest of the United States as well, because your economy is so giant. The way we see California is that your state is going bankrupt. It is a mess. So tell me, let me give you a litany of questions. What would you do differently to save California? What would you do differently than Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing now? And how do you think you could work with a Democratic legislature? Because your state is in deep trouble.
Well, you're right. Our state is in big trouble, but we can turn it around. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to focus on doing a small number of things well. You know, when your house is on fire, you don't worry about the termites in the basement. You fix the things that need to be fixed first and foremost. And we've got to fix the business climate in California. We've got to make it easier for new jobs to be created. So we're going to cut taxes, we're going to streamline regulation and bust the bureaucracy that is strangling businesses, and then we're going to have an economic development team that's going to hang on to jobs here in California. So that will increase the revenue side of the equation. I mean, if we don't put Californians back to work, there is actually no way out of this fiscal mess. And then on the cost side of the equation, we have got to run the government more efficiently and effectively. I've talked about downsizing the government. I've talked about using technology to do more with less. And then perhaps our biggest problem is the public employee pension problem, which is not dissimilar from other states. We have given away lavish pension benefits to the public employee unions. We have to renegotiate those, or we're going to run out of money in California. So it's getting Californians back to work and making sure that we have a government we can afford, which we don't right now.
Did Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, also Republican, try to do that? And apparently, I mean, I don't think he's been particularly successful because the state is in deep trouble. So I take it it's in part that he's had trouble, you know, with the legislature, maybe his ideas or whatever. But did he try to do what you propose?
Well, we talked about a lot of the same issues, and he was right, I'm right. We need more jobs here. But here's the difference between me and Governor Schwarzenegger. I'm a proven job creator. I have spent 30 years creating jobs, working in the private sector. I bring the real-world common sense experience to Sacramento. Governor Schwarzenegger was an actor and an investor, but that's very different than being an operating executive who is accountable for results every single day. So here's what I will do. Very important. The appointments you make to your administration are absolutely essential. Everyone knows you're only as good as the people you work with. So I'm going to look at the top 300 people in that administration. They're going to be the right people in the right job with the right skills on the same agenda as the governor, and we're going to all march in the same direction. And then you asked about the Democratic legislature. Well, first let me say, if Jerry Brown is the next governor of California, a Democratic governor with a democratically controlled legislature, you won't recognize California in 2 or 3 or 4 years. So I will provide a check to that legislature, and I will also lead that legislature. Like in so many other states, and frankly in America, the legislature's become a bill factory. Last year, the governor signed into law nearly 700 bills. Greta, some of them were things like how long cows' tails should be, regulating tattoo parlors, renaming highways for disgraced politicians. All those bills, guess what they come with? Spending.
But how do you get the Democrat? I mean, I understand the predicament, but I mean, I don't need to tell you that Democrats are gunning for Republicans, Republicans are gunning for Democrats. I mean, like, you know, we all sit here and we all sort of know what the problem is. That's one part of it. But how do you actually implement it and get those things done? Because I think people are hungry for that answer.
Yeah. So I call it tough love. The tough part is I'm going to veto things that don't make sense. And let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of things to veto because the legislature is just ginning things up that don't make a difference. I'm going to focus this legislature on jobs, on cutting wasteful government spending and our education system. Legislation that isn't on point to those 3 things, veto. And then, how do we make the legislature famous for doing the good work of the people of California? You know, after this election, we're all going to have to be Californians, and we're going to have to solve our very real problems. And let me give you an example. So I'm in San Diego today. The home of biotech in California. They lost one of their big research institutes' expansion to Florida. We didn't stand up and compete. Big expansion in Orlando, Florida. Governor Bush competed for that expansion, and he won. California lost. We have got to turn that around, and if we're able to hang on to these big companies, then let's make the assembly person and the state senator famous for holding on to these big companies. I don't need the credit. You know, what I've learned in business over many years is you don't care who gets the credit. It's amazing what you can get done. So let's get the incentives right for the legislature to do what really matters.
All right, so I understand the job creation thing, and I get that. One of the things that I think that your state also deals with is illegal immigration. And I suppose you know the Nikki Diaz problem that you've had, and frankly, I've been quite out there about Gloria Allred, I thought, ambushing you. But nonetheless, this illegal immigration, first, is it a problem in California? Secondly, although it's a national solution and not necessarily a state solution, it has state implications. What do you think should be done? And thirdly, let me get very personal. Nikki Diaz, I imagine you have mixed feelings about her. She's in this country illegally and has signed that document falsely. Should she be deported?
Well, the answer is it breaks my heart, but she should be deported because she forged documents and she lied about her immigration status, and it breaks my heart. Gloria Allred pulled off a political stunt, and you know what? On November 3rd, no one's going to care about Nikki Diaz, but the law is the law, and we live in a rule of law. It's important. So here's the plan for illegal immigration, and it is a problem not only